Hello, handbag besties. I've got to think of a name for y'all, but somebody said you're my bestie in my last video, so it stuck. Today is the case for vintage, authentic, over new luxury. So I did a video, it was like almost 3 years ago now, I think. It was so long ago that I don't want to redo the video. But in that video, I had borrowed a friend's pochette Matisse that she had bought from me in the boutique in 2019 when I worked for the company, and I compared it to my 1990s, like 1994 Louis Vuitton Saint Cloud. I know it is not the same bag, apples to apples, but it was enough to show you some of the manufacturing differences in a bag that was made in the 90s compared to a bag that you're going to buy today from the Louis Vuitton boutique. So today, really quickly, I'm gonna show you some of the differences. So the scarf I added myself, but one thing that is absolutely noticeable when you hold this bag, this canvas is so thick. It's thick and it feels very textured and structured. It feels like luggage. So Louis Vuitton claims to be a travel company, a luggage company. The vintage pieces will feel this way. Absolutely. That is the first difference you're going to notice. Now, even if you walk into the Louis Vuitton boutique today and you ask to feel a luggage or something from the travel section, it is still not going to feel like this. So there is definitely a difference. So we'll go into that in a bit too. The leather, it's thick as well. I don't know if it's thicker, but to me, this just has that vintage feel and appeal, but it's a much heavier type of handbag than what you would get today. So also when I did that comparison, I compared this to the pochette Matisse. The weight and the thickness was definitely different. This bag, you can see it also has not lost its shape. Anytime you have a vintage piece, another viewer asked this, will they have a certain smell? And yes, it does, because the materials, everything will have like some kind of scent over time. This one it kind of smells like leather. The interior of this bag is also leather lined, so it cannot be replaced. The interiors of the bags today are microfiber, mostly microfiber, and those can be replaced, but it is a lighter and cheaper material. So any bag that you have that's vintage, whether it's Coach or like, I don't know, Dooney & Bourke or anything that you find in a vintage store or that you have lying in your closet, most likely if it hasn't air circulating, just the materials are going to have some kind of essence to it. So some of the things of the construction of the bag, other than the thickness of the leather, the lining that is leather, the most notable thing that people don't really know is what is called the glazing. That's this part right here. The part around the edges of the bag, whether the bag is canvas or leather. See here how this is where the material meets, this is where the material meets. There's different ways to construct it. You can roll the material and sew it, but in most handbags, this thick piece of paint, which is called glazing, is meant to cover where the two materials meet. So it's basically to cover the seam. This used to be done by hand before the bags were in such huge demand. Now this process is done by machine and fast, very fast. I have a video of it when I went to visit the factory when I worked for Vuitton, and you can also see that video here. I'm going to tag all the videos down at the description. So before I worked for Vuitton, I also worked in the shoe industry. So I'm familiar with these type of processes that they use to paint the edge of leather, and it's done very quickly with a machine. Zoop, zoop, zoop. So there's not an artisan sitting there painting it anymore unless it's a special order bag. Okay, also the chemical composition of the glazing has continuously been changing even in the past few years. So the story that they've been telling us is that the composition of the canvas has changed to take out chemicals that are harmful, and same with the glazing. Look, I don't know, every day we're surrounded by chemicals that are toxic, whether you're in the grocery store or the car wash, or even some of the makeup that we use anyways. So sometimes I think, well, maybe they're just taking things out for cost. It could be a narrative they make. You never know. I don't know. But definitely the process and the composition is different. Because the demand for these handbags are so much greater than before, every brand has jumped into the handbag trend. every brand. Even Cartier, don't they do jewelry? So simply, all the manufacturing has to speed up. Manufacturing has to keep up with the demand. So the narrative that all of these are handmade and made in small batches, it's a lie. The only pieces that are still meticulously handmade are the ones that are going to be special order, usually the exotic leathers. And those usually begin at about $25,000 minimum. And in the case of Hermes, I don't believe that everything is like as quickly manufactured as, say, Louis and Chanel. Everything else commercial, most of the stuff that you see people wearing is made on the line. So as usual, people online are always debating, why would you want to buy a used bag? I don't get it. Something's used that someone else has made. Well, there are some fabulous channels on vintage, and one of them is Jack's Bag Attack. She finds amazing vintage bags and in great condition. So if you're a bag lover, you can appreciate that there is quality, there's art, there is something different about vintage bags over wanting something brand new. I love shopping for a deal, or I love even just reminiscing about this bag that I had back in 2008 and I gave it away and I want to find it again. But I'm just a handbag addict, so I see the appeal of wanting something brand new. The process in which these bags are made can be easily replicated. The bags of today, okay? The bags of today are not this meticulously made. So the idea that you're spending more for quality and heritage and exclusivity is out the window with me. It doesn't work anymore. They're making hundreds of bags at a time. And I'm sorry to burst your bubble. Now, some people I've noticed have really taken this personally, and it's not about you. I used to work for Vuitton, and I'm giving this information because for me, it's not about giving into corporate capitalism to have a fancy handbag. I'm gonna show you also my other favorite vintage bag. It is a circa 1990s Gucci. And it has also a leather lining and a pigskin lining here. Now, I haven't used her as much because the leather is starting to degrade on the corners. You can see that. But still, this type of bag, the quality, the construction, it's nothing like you would find in Gucci today. I just pulled her out of my drawer. I haven't used her in about a year, and she definitely needs a trip to the bag spa. So something like this, I'm going to find someone who's an expert and can paint the edges and can restore it to like new. But other than that, like the canvas and everything else is still in really great condition. Okay, so manufacturing, like nobody is really meticulous about the manufacturing of the handbags anymore, unless you find some artisan like that you haven't heard of that works in a little cobbler shop or under a tree or under a rock. But nobody wants that anymore since we're all about showing logos here on YouTube. Or if you really look, you can find someone who is taking the time to make a really good replica of a high-end bag. But there is a clientele for everyone. And that's why all of these manufacturers exist. Which also means you guys can stop fighting out there on social media land about which bag is better. It really is about which bag is better for you, and whatever you pick is not going to harm that person or that person. Trust me, you'll all be fine. You can all find a bag to fit your needs and your budget. Okay, so more about vintage bags. I'm now doing a live stream every Wednesday at 3 p.m. from a consignment shop, and occasionally I find some really good vintage Louis Vuitton pieces. Fact of the matter is I am completely overloaded with handbags, so do I need any more, whether it's real or authentic or vintage? I don't. However, when I find these vintage pieces, they are so nice. If you really want to see them, go watch the replays or tune in on Wednesdays because they show you the differences. And some of these bags are hardly even used. So it's a great way to find an amazing deal on a real Vuitton. I'm going to call those the real Vuittons because they're made the way they should be. Thick lining, thick canvas, sturdy material, beautiful linings, beautiful everything. They're not even that old. Like some of the pieces are maybe 2014, slightly worn or not worn at all. You will get better construction than you will find today. These bags are practically brand new, but if there is any like thing that you need to be replaced, the service center can still replace that for you as long as it hasn't been altered anywhere else. So one piece in particular kind of captured my heart. It was the MONTSOURI backpack. The backpack that Mariah Carey wore around in the 2000s. So the vintage piece, it really does feel heavier. And I personally like the idea of having what I would call a heritage piece that I could use and then pass down to my daughter. If I bought something now, it just wouldn't feel the same because the manufacturing, it's different. Now it's hard to explain until they're in your hands. But as you know, if you've been watching me, I'm horribly turned off by the increase of prices of luxury goods. They are somewhat doubled, tripled, quadrupled from what they were before. And I get it. It's for exclusivity, the exclusivity to carry luxury, but it does not match. The quality, the craftsmanship does not match the price tag. And the truth is, luxury is now appealing to the masses. It has such a mass market appeal that you could literally find it anywhere, any price point, anything to satisfy your needs. You can even buy a pochette or a wallet and put a chain on it and make it yours if you don't want to spend or can't spend on a full handbag. Do what you want to do with it, just like your car. Make it your expression of style rather than something just to follow the masses. Besides, finding a vintage piece that could be one of a kind or really hard to find, like that's more of a flex than it is that to buying a bag that everybody else on the internet has. So also with that, I know my channel has evolved from giving the facts about Louis Vuitton, giving the inside scoop, like what is your money really paying for, which I found that some people just, they listen to, but still not listening to, and there's no superiority over holding this bag over this bag, or I paid more money than you did. There's like no superiority in that. So I don't know where that comes from. And also, like, I'm really surprised that people take it very personally too. So I learned a lot working for Louis, and this is the information I share with you. It doesn't mean I'm loyal to the brand. I don't even work for them anymore. And since I've left, I've seen price increase after price increase, which does not make any sense. So I am not going to tell you, go ahead and buy that $4,000 bag that should be less than $1,000. What would my motivation be to support that other than to stay relevant on YouTube? So anyways, point of my video, if you really want heritage and quality, you're just not going to find that in a new piece. I mean, to each their own. I get how new pieces can still make you very happy, but for the real heritage and quality pieces, go for vintage. That's it, you guys. Have a nice day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to support my channel, there is a membership portion. I will see you all soon. Bye.